Hello there, welcome to AGRC 213 Ag Computers course again. This video is being recorded to help you walk through some of the key assignments that we're going to have when we get into the career planning and employment materials, and then most importantly to your midterm assignment, which is building your resume and cover letter. I've dropped in here in our course in Blackboard, and I'm going to click quickly on this career planning and employment materials link in your coursework section. And the first assignment here is the employment interview application, and it has the file here for you. I've already opened it, and let me get it open here on my menu bar. This is just very simply a application that was put together for our Professional Agricultural Students Organization, and it walks you through how to fill out an employment application online. So this particular document is a fillable form. One of the tricks on it here that I'm just going to show you quick, and then we're going to move on to other things to keep the video short, is to show you how to check these boxes. If you place your cursor, just like I'm doing here with my mouse, in front of the check boxes here. So for example, this question says, have you ever worked for this company? And you want to select no. Just place your cursor right to the left of the box, right click, and then select properties. And you'll change in the default value, you're going to change that to checked, and you'll notice that kind of faintly it's turned that box to an X. If I click off of it, you can kind of see it. It's very faint on the screen, but it does come through whenever you have to go and do that particular assignment. So navigate through that one carefully. You'll apply for just kind of any introductory job that you may be interested in that you could potentially get out of here whenever you complete our program at KC, or after you're kind of your dream job after you've completed a four-year degree, if you're going to do one of those. Also, here are the contexts for career planning. That is just a list of folks that have a job in the career pathway that you're interested in, or something tied to it that I'm going to have you work on collecting some information for them. If you are in our Ag Employment Career Discovery class on Wednesday afternoons, then that particular course will work quite nicely for collecting some of the information that is in the career planning form down here. I'm going to record a video specific to that at a later date. If we go back to our coursework link, all the way down in your midterm projects, and I know that we're a month away from midterm, yet I would like for you to start working very diligently on your resume and cover letter. This assignment is not due until midterm week, but constitutes a great percentage of your grade, and I would highly suggest that you get to work on it right away. And so work on a resume and cover letter. I want you to walk away from the course having a resume that you're very proud and ready to turn in, and that will go to work right for you. One of the things that I've done in preparation for this particular video is to record, put down kind of a list of my list of resume and cover letter tips and tricks and do's and don'ts in order to help you put together the best resume possible. First, let's talk about a good resume. Number one, include your name and current contact information. Make that stuff up there prominent and easy to read, so that when an employer is looking through a stack of applications, they can pick out your name really easily. I always encourage students to put an objective, a mission statement, and a personal goal on your resume. It's nice for an employer to know what you want to get out of a job. Not necessarily that you want them to hire you. They already know that. But what you're going to do for the company in a job. Always include your education beginning with the most recent, as well as your experience beginning with the most recent. And I'll show you an example of my resume. Make sure to use action words and short statements. That's not a time to tell a story. You're just going to make short, quick statements. And in my experience, most of you tend to sell yourself short on the amount of experience, the things that you do in your job. You tend to sell yourself a little short. And then include a section, and maybe two sections, for honors and activities, potentially listed separately, depending on what you have. Some list of resume don'ts, and these are things that I want to make sure that you know don't do on your resume. And of course, number one is don't have spelling and grammar errors. Make sure that you go through and use that review gallery and do a spelling and grammar check on your resume before you ever ever hit print and submit it to anybody. Don't have paragraphs on your resume. Again, it's not a time to tell stories. Keep in mind that when you're applying for a competitive job, that most employers are probably going to have a stack of resumes to read through, and they want to know quickly, and you probably have about 15 seconds or less to make an impression. So paragraphs are not going to be easy to read and easy for an employer or a director of HR to figure out whether you've got the correct qualifications. I encourage you to not list your references on your resume, and primarily that is to simply save space for other more important things. You may list your references on the application, and if you do so, there's no need to list them a second time. If you don't, I always include them on a separate page. So I don't ever list my references on my resume. That real estate is too important for other things. Don't ever include things that cannot be verified or are untrue. You do not want to claim that you did things that you did not. Keep it simple on the formatting. Don't have a lot of very creative fonts unless really the job would call for that. Make it simple and easy to read. Don't have what I call cute or inappropriate email addresses, and I'm sure you can use your imagination as to what those might be, but keep it professional. And if you have an email address that maybe is a little bit too cute or has some inappropriate things in it, maybe create a new email before you go to sending it to an employer. And for most of you in your careers, especially coming right out of college, you really only need a one-page resume. Unless you're long in your career like myself, then maybe you'll stretch it out into more pages, and I'll show you an example of mine here in a second. Some maybes, and these two are very closely tied together. Some folks, and you'll see some templates out there that have skills listed on them. I would only list a skill if there is a certification that goes with it. And an example kind of above that, there is if it's a licensure of some kind. For example, a commercial driver's license, a CDL, forklift operator, pesticide applicator's license, something like that. I would be very careful about listing things, for example, like good communicator or organized. There's really no way to verify that. You're just simply making a claim that is your opinion. So I would keep those things to a minimum or eliminate them so that you can use your resume for other more critical things. In terms of your cover letter is your chance to converse with the reader or the HR director or the employer. And so make sure, number one, you always address it to the first person. You should basically break your cover letter down into 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph should state where you learned of the position. Did you see it online? Were you told about it by a current employer of that company? And if that's true, make sure and drop their name if that's a good thing to do. If you learned about it on the website, if you saw it in the newspaper, always list what job you're applying for and where you learned of the position. Second paragraph should call attention to why you are the best fit for the job. Just pull out some of the key things in your resume and why you think that employer should hire you or bring you in for an interview for sure. And then the third paragraph should invite them to contact you for that interview. I suggest that you, again, make it an invitation. I use that word intentionally, an invitation for them to call you or email you to schedule an interview. Don't say, I will contact you next week. Many times you're not aware of the hiring process and how long it takes in some instances. You should follow up with a phone call to verify that they received your materials anyway. But just don't demand an interview. Make it more of an invitation, and I'll show you an example of that as well. So let me pull up a different document here. So here's an example cover letter. Let me turn my formatting marks off again here. Here's an example cover letter I put together just as an example of if I was applying for the job that I currently have. So notice I've listed my current address up there at the top and my personal email address. I would never ever use a company email when applying for another job. That's kind of in poor taste, number one. Number two, you probably should not be getting personal emails on your company email most of the time anyway. So I just highly suggest having a personal email to use in that regard. The HR division, the date, and I put this together a couple of years ago. And then it's addressed to the Human Resources Director. But notice the first paragraph I have an acceptance for my materials for the position that's listed, Assistant Professor of Agriculture, posted on the website, and that Mr. Wagner informed me of the opportunity and explained the vision and feel like I would be a highly qualified candidate. I name dropped there for example, just to show you that if someone within the organization thinks highly enough of you to bring the position to you, you definitely want to use them as a reference. My middle paragraph, and I'll let you read that there, brings out some of the key things that I think would make me a great candidate for the job. So you'll notice I have a grammatical error in there, so I wonder if you will be able to catch it. Wanted to show you why that might look bad. And then lastly, I have just a thank you for reviewing my materials, and please contact me at those particular contact information, whether it's an email or a phone number, again, to schedule an interview. And notice, I look forward to the opportunity to meet with you regarding how my qualifications may meet your needs. Again, an invitation to have them contact me. And as we close out this video, then, I'm going to show you, this is my, if I can get it to pull up here, this is my resume, and in this instance called a curriculum vitae for education. But notice how it's very simple in terms of what it looks like font wise, not a lot of fanciness. Everything is very neatly aligned. I like to use bullet points, and then if you notice my statements down here in my employment area with my current job, these are not sentences. There should not be a paragraph at the end of there. But notice every single starter word is an action word: provide, develop, promote, advise, coordinate, connect, supervise, things of that nature. Now my resume is 3 pages long in this example, and that's because I've been in the field quite a bit. I've done a lot of things over my career, and then for a teaching application, you would want it to be longer like this. Again, for your application as a student coming out of college, you probably, again, only want to have a single page resume. But I've included this here, and I'll scroll up and down so that you may review a little bit of what I have. And I've included another sample one on the assignment, the midterm resume and cover letter assignment, that you are welcome to beg, borrow, and steal some of the words that are on there, some of the formatting ideas. One of the things as we finish up here that I would encourage you not to do, if you go into Word, there are templates for writing resumes. I would encourage you that you have enough experience at this point in time formatting your own Word document. Do not worry about using a template. You know how to format in Word, and have confidence that you can make it look nice and professional without using some of the template tools that are out there. The template tools, and why they are somewhat of a problem, in my opinion, is that they lock you into certain wording, they lock you into certain headers, they lock you into certain size. And sometimes that gets quite restrictive in terms of what you want it to look like. Your resume should be a reflection of your personality in some regards. And so if that gets too restrictive and frustrating for you, just take the content out, put it on a blank document, and format it however you like, just like I've done right here. So in closing, I hope that this video has served as a good reminder and some key tips and tricks into going through how to put together a resume and cover letter and some of the employment and career-based tools and assignments that we're going to utilize through this course. As always, if you need any help, please swing by my office during office hours or stop into the course on Monday and Wednesday, or Tuesday and Thursday, mornings, and ask for assistance anytime. I'm glad to help you. And if you have drafts of your resume that you would like for me to look at before you turn them in for grading, I highly encourage that. I would be glad to review them. Thanks for listening.